Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Sarah Avery, and I am the Executive Director of Quanta Change. And this is my very first live video, so wish me luck. So, for almost 20 years, for more than 20 years actually, I have been helping people feel better than they've ever felt before through the Quanta Change process. And I am so excited today to help you see how Quanta Change could help you feel really good being yourself. So when I say that, what comes to mind? Do you think, well, yeah, Sarah, I feel great being myself. Oh, rookie mistake. I forgot to turn my light on. Okay, so what comes to mind? Do you feel great being yourself? Do you feel like your life's going really well? So if that's the case, that's fantastic. But when I said feel really good being you, were you thinking something else? Were you thinking maybe of some underlying feeling that's there with you all the time, maybe nagging at you? Maybe it even feels like it's overwhelming you. Or were you thinking about something that keeps happening that feels awful in some part of your life, maybe your relationships or your health or your work, some part of life, and you have tried to change that. You have done everything you can. You've maybe done years of work on yourself, maybe even decades of work in therapy or other kinds of work. And no matter what you've done, you just still don't really feel any better. Or maybe do you even feel worse than you felt before? So if that's the case, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hear that a lot. And so Quanta Change has a term for the source of all of our negative feelings and thoughts and patterns, and it's called learned distress. And there are two things I want you to know today right off the bat about learned distress. One is that it is not your fault that you have it, or that you have not been able to get rid of it or deal with it. And the other thing I want you to know is there really is a way to start peeling off layers of learned distress so that you can really actually feel good being yourself. So today I want to answer a question. I get asked all the time this question. Maybe you're thinking it yourself. So that question is, what in the heck is Quanta Change? So today I'm going to answer what Quanta Change isn't, what it is, and how it can really help you feel better. So I'm going to start with what it isn't. People ask me all the time, is Quanta Change like this or that or this, Sarah? And so I'm going to list some of those things because they help me define what Quanta Change is. So here's what Quanta Change isn't. It's not psychotherapy or positive psychology. It's not hypnotherapy. It's not EMDR, or it's not like NLP, say. So people ask, is it like the law of attraction, or like doing affirmations, or The Secret, the movie The Secret? It's not like that. Is it like meditation? It's not. What about energy work of some sort? How about Reiki or tapping? No, it's not like those either. So Quanta Change, one more thing people ask me is it like quantum physics somehow? Is it related to quantum physics? It's not. But Quanta Change is indeed based on physics, but much more basic laws of physics than that really complex science of quantum physics. So now, what Quanta Change is. Oh, let me say one more thing here to distinguish it from quantum physics, and that is that it is called Quanta, Quanta, change, and that'll just help you if you're Googling it. So let's get to what Quanta Change is. It is an alternative therapy that works with your brain during sleep in order to bring about profound and lasting change in some or maybe many parts of your life, maybe. So what did you think when I said lasting change? Were you thinking, oh no, I know what you're going to tell me, Sarah. You're going to give me something to do And I need to do it when I wake up, and I need to do it through the day. Maybe I need to do it on an hourly basis. And somehow it's going to maybe help me feel a little better for a moment, or maybe it's going to help me keep my negative feelings and thoughts in check somehow. That is not what I'm talking about when I say lasting change. So to help you understand what I mean by that, let me say what some of my clients say. They'll say, I feel an underlying sense of peace that I have never felt before in my life. Or I just had an awful day yesterday. But when I compare it to awful days just like it in the past, it wasn't nearly as bad. It wasn't nearly as intense. Something's lightened up in me. And even through all of yesterday, I just somehow knew things were going to be okay. In fact, I felt like I was okay. I am okay. I have never felt that before. Or like my client who said, I have awakened every morning of my life knowing that I am not good enough. I knew that I was going to have to work as hard as I could all day long to feel good enough, and I knew that I was never going to succeed at that. He said that as a way to contrast it with the previous few weeks, in which he said that he started waking up and realizing that he felt good. He felt hopeful, maybe even happy some days. And he said, I'm excited about the day to come and the week and the month to come. I'm excited about my life. And that's so weird. I've never felt that way before. So that's what I'm talking about when I say lasting change. Quanta Change really gets to the core level of how we feel, and that's how it can create that kind of lasting change. So the next thing I want to get to is, you may be thinking, what parts of my life might Quanta Change help with? Well, so I have seen Quanta Change affect almost every part of life. Your relationships, your work and career life, your physical, mental, emotional health, some aspects of daily life, like getting stuff done, like not procrastinating maybe, or like having work-life balance that doesn't feel like you have to just muscle it into place, or how you express yourself in the world and how that feels to you. I'm thinking especially of clients who say, I have just never felt comfortable or even safe really fully expressing myself in the world to other people. And I'm feeling better and safer doing that. And people are responding to me differently. This is really different. So, all of these things that I just described really stem from how you feel about being yourself. And that is why Quanta Change works with your brain during sleep. Sleep is when your sense of self is getting recharged. So your sense of self is like a container that stores how you feel about being yourself. And it contains two basic kinds of feeling. It contains your natural well-being, which is like the core of who you are as a human. Your natural well-being is the feeling that you are just great, just being yourself. When I say that, is that how you feel? Or did you think, ooh, well-being, wow, that seems like a distant thing in there, sort of hidden maybe? Or maybe were you even feeling like, I don't know, Sarah, I have felt so bad for so long that I don't even know if I have well-being. I've heard many people say that, and what I can tell you is every single one of them, we've uncovered their well-being. Your well-being is in there. It's at your core. I promise that's true for you if you're feeling really awful. And the reason that it might feel so distant, so hidden, is that it's gotten covered up, overwhelmed by this other feeling in your sense of self called learned distress. So learned distress is the feeling that you absorbed very early in life, that there's something wrong with you being just the way that you are. You had no choice in absorbing learned distress, and it's been wreaking havoc ever since in your life. And maybe you're aware of that going way back, or maybe that's just started to become more apparent to you. Either way, what I want you to know is that there's really a way to get rid of learned distress. So your sense of self is generating every situation, every condition, every moment of your life. And it's generating it out of one of those two kinds of feeling, your well-being or your learned distress. And those negative patterns and those negative feelings in your life are being generated out of learned distress. And that's why they keep going, because the brain keeps doing that. And so that's why life gets so frustrating, is the presence of learned distress. So what Quanta Change does is it allows you to get to your brain during sleep when the sense of self is recharging and tell it, I don't want to recharge with learned distress anymore. I want to recharge with my natural well-being. I want to feel good. And as your brain does that at night, as it recharges with well-being, your well-being grows in intensity, and layers of learned distress that stood in the way of it peel off permanently. And you feel better and life works better because your sense of self has more and more of your natural well-being to draw from to generate your life. So what is that like? Let me give you some examples of that. So the first one is something I work with all the time. Do you ever feel like no matter what you say or how you say it, nobody listens to you? Do you feel like you're invisible? Do you feel like you just don't matter? Well, I work on this with my clients all the time. So let me give you just one example out of many. So I had a client who said, okay, we're working on I Matter. I get that. I'm going to feel better. I see that. But, my ex-husband and his new wife, like, Sarah, they're never going to treat me differently. But then she came back just at our next session and she said, I don't know what happened, but my ex-husband has been really nice to me. He never even treated me that well when we were married. And I just got the most amazing email from his wife about our special needs son that we share the care of, just gushing about how I handle him and how I deal with him, and asking for input and pointers on how she can be better with our son. She said, Sarah, these are miracles. I've never experienced this in my life. And I could give you 100 examples just like that. So here's another example. I'm wondering how your closet looks right now, or maybe the top of your desk or your email inbox. How about your garage? So if they're neat and tidy, great. If they're kind of cluttered, but you're okay with that and that's just comfort for you, that's fine too. How about if you're feeling like, oh, I would love to get that spot cleaned up in my house and I just cannot do it. It's been piling up like that for 10, 20 years maybe. So here's what I hear from clients all of the time. So this is good news for you if you're the third kind of person like me. Someone will say, Saturday morning, I got up and I needed something out of the garage and I walked in there and I found it. But as I found it, I thought, hey, I could donate all this stuff to the thrift store today. And so I got it out of there and I got it ready to go. And then I kept going. And by noon, half of the garage was cleaned out. And by the end of the day, my whole garage was cleaned out. And my family came out and was asking, who are you and what have you done with our loved one? Because this is not who you are. And by the way, we didn't even hear any yelling or swearing coming from the garage as you were doing all of this. What happened? And they say, it's so weird. I've never done anything like this before in my life. So if clutter is a problem for you, or getting stuff done in general is a problem for you, this is where I have hope for you. So another thing that people bring me all the time is anxiety. And there are lots of examples I could give you of this also, but let me give you one example of anxiety. I had a late teenage college student who had just failed out of his semester of college. And he was home for the summer in summer school, taking the same course he just failed in a really condensed form. And his problem with school was that he would study really well, quiz himself, he knew the material, and then he would get so anxious walking into the test that it was like everything flew out of his head and he didn't know anything anymore. So we were working on this with him, and he walked into his first test. He was still a little nervous, but he said he already felt way better than he'd ever felt during a test. And he looked down at the test and he thought, wait a second, I know this stuff. I'm going to ace this test. And he did. And several months later, he joined the dean's list. And he said this totally changed college for him, getting rid of this anxiety that he felt about knowing what he knew. So again, many examples of that, but that's a good one. One more example for you. I wonder if you're the kind of person who comes to me and says, you know, things were going great for a long time in my life. I did the things that you should. I did all of them, and I worked hard, you know, just like anybody, and things worked out the way they ought to work out. But lately, things have changed. And some people say they changed gradually. Some people say it was like a switch flipped. And all of a sudden, things were harder than they'd ever been before. And they weren't still getting the same results they'd gotten before from the same work. So if this feels like you, if this sounds familiar, what I can tell you is people who I work with this pattern, what they start to say is things are getting easier. In fact, you know, I didn't even realize how hard I was working before to bring about good results, but things are so much easier. I'm thinking of a client who's a really skilled professional who writes reports all the time for his work. And all of a sudden he said, you know what? I could just write the report as I go along working with a client. And he did. He started to do that. And it was easy. Instead of working 3 weekends in a row, ignoring his family, to write reports and feeling anxious all the time doing it, he was writing the report as he went along, taking the weekend off, enjoying his family, and finishing it up on a Monday morning. And he said things are easier than they ever have been before. So if you didn't hear in these examples what sounds like you're dealing with, just know that I've dealt with lots and lots of kinds of learned distress. I'll address some of them in upcoming videos. I'm pretty sure that we can address what you're struggling with. So you're probably wondering what the nuts and bolts of Quanta Change are. How does this all work? So let me run that down very quickly for you. There are 3 essential elements that are ongoing and concurrent in the Quanta Change process. So the first one is working with me on a regular basis to understand the process, to have guidance and support through the process. The second element is sleeping with a recording that is a generic catalyst for change to tell your brain, I want to recharge with well-being instead of learned distress. I want to feel good. And the third element is customizing that to yourself, to tell your brain specifically what you want to change when you go to sleep. And so you're going to do a simple daytime shifting process. But unlike other things that you do kind of throughout the day that are about changing your thinking or trying to help you feel a little bit better and stay that way, stay feeling that way, that's not what this is about. This is just a very specific process to tell your brain during sleep what you want to change. And so that is how Quanta Change unfolds. But the very first step to feeling better in the ways that I've described today is to find out your pattern of learned distress, which one of the 6 learned distress patterns you have. So they are called the idealist, the perfectionist, the caregiver. I have to count them to make sure that I got them all. Now I lost my space. Idealist, perfectionist, caregiver, optimist, defeatist, and dictator. Sometimes we call that last one benevolent dictator. So in order to find out that, you're going to take a test on my website, but you're probably thinking, wait a second, I don't fit. I'm not one of 6 people. I'm not a pattern. And you are absolutely right. That is just a bucket that your learned distress, your negative stuff fits into. You are unique. You are your unique expression of well-being in the world. And so that's what we want to uncover with Quanta Change. That's why we find out your pattern of learned distress. So in order to do that, you're going to take a test on my website. It is an in-depth, scientifically validated personality tool that measures your learned distress. And when you take that test, I am going to graph your answers and prepare a free report to send you that's going to show you your pattern or patterns of learned distress, how you've been surviving with them, and how you can really feel better being yourself as you peel away that pattern. So I hope you'll go to my website and take that test, quantachange.com, and click on the green button in the top right corner that says free report. And I will put that link in the comments and in my bio also. So I hope that you will take the test and find out what you could peel away to feel better. Thank you so much for joining my first live video and bearing with my newbie mistakes. And, I'm just so excited to share more with you in upcoming videos about how Quanta Change can really help you feel good being yourself. So thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.